The invitation had come out of nowhere, tossed casually over a video call with Esme last month. "Papa wants you to come to the game," she'd said, her voice crackling with that familiar lilt, half Spanish fire, half American twang from the summer she'd spent crashing at my family's place in Seattle. "He's obsessed with this Madrid Barca clash. Says you're the only gringa he knows who won't bore him with polite chit-chat." I laughed it off, picturing Carlos, broad-shouldered, salt-and-pepper beard, the kind of guy who grilled sardines on his tiny balcony like it was a Michelin star event, finally warming up to me after 2 years of my orbiting his daughter's life. Esme and I had met in a whirlwind way, the kind that felt scripted for a Sundance indie flick. I was 23, fresh out of my MFA in creative writing at Columbia, chasing a vague dream of finding myself in Europe. Barcelona called with its sun-baked streets and whispers of gaudy-esque ghosts, and I landed a gig copywriting for a boutique ad agency near the Gothic Quarter. Esme was the barista at my go-to cafe, a hole-in-the-wall spot called La Serena where the coffee was strong enough to wake the dead, and the playlist skewed toward indie folk with a side of Rosalia. She was 24, born and raised in the shadow of the Sagrada Familia, with a sociology degree gathering dust while she saved for a master's in Madrid. Our first conversation started over a spilled courte-à-deux, my fault naturally, and ended with her doodling her number on a napkin shaped like a fish. From there it snowballed. Late-night walks along the Ramblas, where she'd translate the graffiti scrawled on medieval walls into stories of forgotten lovers and rebel poets. Picnics in Park Güell, where the mosaic dragon seemed to wink at our shared secrets. Hers about the pressure from her traditional family to settle down with a nice Catalan boy. Mine about the quiet ache of realizing back in New York that the crushes I'd nursed on roommates weren't just phases. We never labeled it, not at first. It was Esme who broke the ice one humid August evening, as we sprawled on a towel by the beach in Barceloneta, the Mediterranean lapping at our toes. "Emma," she'd murmured, her head on my shoulder, "what if we just try? No big declarations. Just us." My heart had stuttered like a skipped vinyl track, and I kissed her then, salt on her lips, the world narrowing to the warmth of her palm against my cheek. But Carlos, he was the wild card. Esme's papa was a retired mechanic, widowed young when her mama succumbed to cancer, raising Esme and her younger brother Javier alone in a third-floor walk-up in Gracia. He doted on her with a fierceness that bordered on fierce, calling her mi soul, even when she rolled her eyes at his old-school machismo. He'd eyed me warily at first, this tall, awkward American with my freckles and my endless questions about La Liga. "You like football?" he'd gruff out during our awkward dinners, and I'd nod vigorously, reciting stats I'd Googled on the metro. Over time the suspicion thawed. He'd slap my back after a good play on TV, share stories of his youth dodging Franco's regime ghosts, inviting me to Camp Nou solo? That was next-level trust. Or so I thought. The day of the match dawned crisp, the kind of November blue that made Barcelona feel invincible. I met Carlos at his apartment, Esme waving us off from the doorway with a grin and a promise to join friends for a watch party elsewhere. "You two bond over your shared obsession with overpaid athletes," she teased. He handed me a scarf in Madrid's white, the fabric still smelling of mothballs, and we hopped the FGC train to the stadium, elbows jostling with a sea of chanting fans. The air buzzed with pre-game energy, vendors hawking calcets, kids in oversized jerseys kicking a battered ball. Carlos bought us chorizo sandwiches from a cart, grease dripping onto the wax paper as he launched into a monologue about Di Stefano's glory days. I nodded along, stealing glances at my phone for Esme's texts. "Don't let him convert you to the dark side. Love you." Inside the stadium the noise hit like a physical force. 80,000 voices rising in a wave, the pitch a vivid green under floodlights that turned the evening golden. We settled into our seats, nosebleeds but prime for the chaos, and cracked open Estrellas, toasting to victory or vengeance. The whistle blew and for 90 blessed minutes, it was pure escapism. Messi danced, wait no this was post-Messi era, but the ghosts lingered, Mbappé weaved magic, and Carlos's commentary was a rapid-fire mix of Catalan curses and English asides for my benefit. "See that, Emma? That's Corazon. Heart." Then the goal. 80th minute, a screamer from Vinicius that bent physics. The stadium erupted, Carlos leaping up with a bellow that shook his frame. His hand on my arm tight, too tight. "Emma," he rasped again, the words tumbling out as his color drained. Esme, she needs you. Promise me. His knees buckled and I caught him barely screaming for help as the world tilted. Medics materialized like apparitions, stretching him onto a backboard amid flashing phones and concerned murmurs. I rode in the ambulance holding his hand, the siren wailing our private dirge through Les Courts traffic. At hospital clinic, time fractured. Doctors spoke in clipped Spanish. Infarto, they said, heart attack. While I texted Esme in a frenzy, your dad collapsed. At hospital. Come now. She burst through the doors 20 minutes later, Javier trailing, her face a mask of terror that cracked when she saw me. What happened? She choked, collapsing into my arms. I held her as they wheeled Carlos into surgery, the scent of her vanilla shampoo grounding me amid the beeps and fluorescent hum. We waited, hours bleeding into night, clutching vending machine coffee, trading fragments of stories to stave off the fear. He always said you were good for her, Javier murmured at one point, his voice thick. Like a sister. The word stung, but I swallowed it, focusing on Esme's quiet sobs against my shoulder. Dawn crept in with the news, stable but touch and go. A blocked artery, they explained, from years of chain-smoking and ignoring the cardiologist. Esme's relief was a shuddering thing. She kissed her father's knuckles when they let her in, whispering promises in Catalan I couldn't catch. I lingered outside, scrolling through panicked messages from my own family back home. Call us, kiddo. We're here. But as Esme emerged, eyes red-rimmed but fierce, she pulled me into a fierce hug. Thank you, she breathed. I don't know what I'd do without you. In that moment, with the city stirring beyond the windows, I felt the shift. Not just friends anchoring each other, but something deeper, rawer. A thread pulling taut after years of gentle tugging. We drove back to her apartment in silence, Javier crashing on the couch, and as Esme curled into me on the bed, her breathing evening out, I traced the curve of her shoulder and wondered if Carlos's unexpected plea had cracked open more than just his chest. The days blurred into a vigil. Carlos stabilized enough for a private room, monitors beeping a steady rhythm that became our unwanted soundtrack. Esme and I tag-teamed shifts, her handling family calls to aunts in Valencia, me fetching newspapers and smuggling in contraband jamon from the market. Javier, the golden boy at 21 with his engineering internship and easy charm, fluttered in and out, but it was Esme who bore the brunt, her vibrancy dimmed like a bulb flickering in humidity. I'd catch her staring at the Ford drip, lost in what-ifs, and pull her into the hallway for air, our hands linking automatically now, a lifeline woven from habit and heartache. One afternoon as rain sheeted the windows, November's gift to Catalonia, Esme dragged me to the hospital's rooftop garden, a concrete oasis with potted olives and benches scarred by graffiti. I need to breathe, she said, lighting a cigarette despite the no-smoking signs, her defiance a spark in the gray. We sat shoulder to shoulder, the city sprawling below like a watercolor run amok. The spires of the Sagrada piercing clouds, the harbor's cranes skeletal against the sea. She exhaled smoke in a long plume, then turned to me, hazel eyes searching. Papa's words. What did he mean? About taking care of me. I hesitated, the memory sharp as shattered glass. He was delirious, yes. Just scared. But her gaze pinned me, demanding truth, and I caved. He said you need me. Like specifically. Before he. She nodded slowly, flicking ash over the railing, and in the pause the unsaid hung heavy. We'd danced around it since that beach kiss. The labels, the future. The what if her family discovered their roommate arrangement was more. Carlos had never outright said it, but his invitations, his gruff approvals, felt like quiet permissions. He's always known, Esme said finally, voice barely above the rain's patter. About us. Mama too before she. She trailed off, crushing the cigarette under her heel. I found her letters once tucked in a Bible. She wrote about loving a woman in her youth before Papa. Said it was a fire that shaped her, even if she chose the safe path. The revelation landed soft, revolutionary. A bridge from her past to ours. I reached for her hand, lacing our fingers, and she leaned in, our foreheads touching like in those quiet moments we'd stolen in hidden alleys. Emma, I don't want safe. Not anymore. The kiss that followed was tentative at first, born of exhaustion and elevation, then deepening with the urgency of deferred dreams. Her lips tasted of tobacco and salt, her hand cupping my jaw with a tenderness that unraveled me. We broke apart breathless, laughing through tears as thunder grumbled approval. "Okay," I whispered. "No more dancing." It felt like a vow sealed under the storm. But vows, in Barcelona's capricious light, have a way of testing. That evening, as we returned to Carlos's room, roses in hand from the florist on Passeig de Gracia, Javier was there, animated, phone glued to his ear. He hung up as we entered, face flushed. "It's Sophia," he announced, oblivious to the charge in the air. Sophia, his girlfriend, but more relevantly, Esme's best friend from university, the one who'd moved to Bilbao for a job in publishing. "She's coming down. Heard about Papa, wants to help." Esme's smile was genuine but edged. "That's sweet. Tell her thanks." Javier nodded, but his eyes flicked to me, a shadow crossing curiosity? Suspicion? I'd always chalked it up to little brother protectiveness, but now, post-kiss, it prickled. Carlos stirred then, eyes fluttering open to find us clustered like a mismatched nativity. "Miss Hios," he murmured, voice gravelly from disuse. We crowded close, Esme perching on the bed's edge, Javier at the foot, me hovering like an extra. The game. Did we win? Laughter rippled, lightening the room. "Penalties," Esme fibbed gently. "But you missed the real drama." His gaze sharpened on me, a faint smile tugging his beard. "No, chica. The drama's just starting." He squeezed my hand, the gesture laden, and in that touch, I felt the weight of his earlier plea. Not delirium but intent. Take care of her. As if he'd seen the fault lines in his family long before the one in his heart. Sophia arrived 2 days later. A whirlwind of energy in wedge heels and a trench coat that screamed Madrid chic. 26, with pin-straight black hair and a laugh like wind chimes, she enveloped Esme in a hug that lingered a beat too long, her cheek brushing mine in the group greeting with an appraising once-over. "Emma, right? Esme's told me all about you, the writer conquering Catalonia." Her tone was warm, but her eyes held a glint, like she was cataloging details for a novel of her own. We fell into an uneasy rhythm. Sophia commandeering meal runs, charming the nurses with her bilingual banter, Javier shadowing her like a puppy, Esme and I stealing glances across the waiting room, our fingers brushing under shared magazines. One night, after Carlos drifted off to a dubbed Friends rerun, Ross and Rachel's Will the Won't They mirroring our own, Esme and I slipped out for gelato at a nearby stand, the air crisp with pine from nearby pines. "She's good for him," Esme said of Sophia, licking pistachio from her spoon. "Javi's smitten." I nodded, but the words stuck. Good for him. What about us? The fracture came subtly, a hairline crack widening under pressure. It was the evening of Carlos's discharge planning. Doctors optimistic about rehab at home. Sophia had organized a celebratory dinner at their apartment, paella simmering, cava chilling, turning the space into a makeshift festa. I contributed my terrible attempt at sangria, which earned laughs, but as we gathered around the scarred oak table, Javier raised a glass. To Papa, and to family sticking together. The toast landed heavy, Sophia's arm slung casually over Esme's chair, her fingers grazing Esme's shoulder in a way that felt territorial. Later, as plates cleared, Sophia cornered me in the kitchen, sponge in hand. "You know, Esme's been through hell since her mom," she said conversationally, suds bubbling. "Losing Papa too? It'd break her." I froze, drying a glass with mechanical swipes. "I'm not going anywhere." She smiled sharp. "Good. Because she's family to me. Always has been." The implication hung. "More than friends?" I brushed it off, but the seed burrowed. That night, Esme and I lay tangled in her childhood bed. The room a time capsule of Polaroids and faded band posters. Paramore, Halsey, hints of the girl she'd been. "Sophia's just intense," Esme murmured, tracing patterns on my arm. "We dated briefly. College fling. She's over it." The confession was casual, but it twisted in my gut. Jealousy, irrational but insistent. "And you?" I asked, voice small. She propped on an elbow, moonlight silvering her features. "That was then. This is us." She kissed me slow, reassuring, but sleep evaded me. The rain tapping Morse code warnings. The betrayal brewed slow, volcanic. A week post-discharge, Carlos stronger but housebound, Esme threw herself into work. Extra shifts at a new cafe to cover bills. leaving me to play nurse's aide. Javier and Sofia lingered, their visits stretching into evenings of board games and bootleg movies. One afternoon, I returned from the pharmacy to find them in the living room. Javier sprawled, Sofia perched on the armrest beside Esme, their heads bent over a photo album, laughter spilling like spilled wine. "Remember Ibiza?" Sofia was saying, her hand on Esme's knee. "That night on the cliffs, stars like diamonds, and you swearing you'd run away with me to Paris." Esme glanced up, flushing. Ancient history. But the ease between them, the shared shorthand, the inside jokes, felt like a chasm. I excused myself to the balcony, lighting a rare cigarette, the city lights blurring through smoke. When Esme joined me, wrapping arms around my waist, I couldn't hold it. "Is that what you want?" "Paris with her." The words escaped bitter, and she recoiled. "Emma, what the hell?" "It's nothing." But doubt had seeded and arguments followed, small at first, then slashing, my American impatience, her family obligations. The romance we'd kindled in the hospital garden wilted under scrutiny, petals browning. Climax hit on a fog-shrouded Saturday, Carlos napping, Javier out. Sofia had dropped by unannounced, bearing flan and a bottle of vermouth. Esme let her in, and I watched from the kitchen as they settled on the couch, Sofia's stories drawing Esme's unguarded laugh, the one that used to be mine. I snapped, glass clinking too loud as I poured water. "If you're so close, why not make it official?" The room stilled. Sofia's brow arched, Esme's face hardened. "Emma, not now." But Sofia stood, gracious poison. "Maybe she has a point, Carino. We've always clicked." The slap of the word Carino echoed. Esme rose, conflicted, and in the melee of raised voices she chose flight, storming to her room, door slamming. Sofia turned to me, eyes cool. "You don't belong here. Go home to your scripts and your safe little life." I left, bag slung, the stairs a descent into exile, rain soaking me to the bone by the time I reached the metro. Exile tasted like stale churros and regret. I holed up in my tiny flat in Izample, peeling wallpaper, a view of a brick wall, scrolling Esme's socials like a masochist, her posts silent since the blowout. Texts went unread. "Sorry. Let's talk." Then radio static. Barcelona, once a lover's playground, turned indifferent. The metro's rattle mocking my isolation. The scent of paella from street carts twisting my stomach. Work suffered. Copy for a shoe campaign devolving into fragmented metaphors about lost souls. And my boss, a chain-smoking Catalan named Marta, pulled me aside. "More problems, Emma? Fix it or fake it." Clients don't care for heartbreak haiku. But faking it was impossible when every corner screamed Esme. The bench in Placa Rail where we'd shared our first gelato, the mosaic bench in Park Güell etched with our initials in invisible ink. I walked it out, miles pounding pavement, until blisters mirrored the rawness inside.
Carlos Textid 11, mi casa es tu casa.
Talk to her. His gruff wisdom a bomb, but pride walled me off. Betrayal, I told myself, replaying Sofia's touch, Esme's hesitation. Yet in quiet hours doubt crept. Had I projected my insecurities onto her loyalty? 2 weeks in, Javier called, an olive branch wrapped in urgency. "Papa's not great. Pushing rehab, but Esme's withdrawn. Sophia's back in Bilbao, but she left a mess." His voice cracked, the protector showing cracks. "Come for dinner?" Neutral ground. I agreed, nerves jangling like loose change, arriving at the apartment with a bottle of Rioja and armor disguised as resolve. The scene was domestic wreckage. Takeout containers on the counter, Carlos in his armchair with the oxygen cannula, looking frail but fierce. Esme hovered, avoiding my eyes, her hair unkempt, the fire dimmed. Javier played host, dishing arroz con pollo, but tension hummed like a live wire. Carlos broke it, gesturing me to sit. "Enough games," he said, voice steady. "Real life isn't a derby. No penalties." His eyes, wise with near-death clarity, flicked between us. "I invited you to that match, Emma, not for football. For this." He waved a hand at the tableau. "To see. Esme's my heart, but you're her beat." The room held breath. Esme's gaze lifted, wounded. "Papa, don't." But he pressed on, the unexpected of the stadium revisited. Not collapse, but confession. "I knew about you too before the beach. Saw it in her smile, the way she lit up talking about your stories. And Sophia? Childhood echo, not future. Javier shifted uncomfortably. He knew, but nodded, sheepish. I suspected. Thought you were just clothes. Esme's dam broke then, tears carving tracks. I froze because it hurt, Emma. Sophia's safe, familiar, but you're everything. And I was scared of losing family. She stood, bridging the gap, hands trembling as she took mine. Forgive me. The plea hung vulnerable, and in it I saw the girl from La Serena, bold, breakable. I pulled her close, the hug fierce, apologies murmured into hair. Carlos watched, approval in his nod. Javier cracked a joke about finally getting the subplot, easing us into laughter. Reconciliation wasn't a straight line, but a mosaic, pieced in stolen moments. Rehab mornings, Esme and I walking Carlos to therapy, his stories of young love. His own quiet queerness suppressed in Franco's shadow, normalizing ours. Afternoons, Javier grilling me on American football. Why pads? Barbarians. Sophia's shadow fading to a footnote via a polite text apology. Evenings, Esme and I reclaiming the city, from candlelit dinners at tiny bodegas to dances in dimly lit bars where queer flags fluttered like promises. Yet drama lingered, the genres do. One night, mid-December, with Christmas lights twinkling premature in Gracia streets, Esme got the call. Her Madrid program acceptance starting January. It's what I wanted, she said, pacing the balcony, cava flutes forgotten. Sociology advocacy. Helping families like mine navigate the unspoken. Joy warred with dread in her voice. Madrid meant distance, 3 hours by high-speed rail, but a chasm in rhythm. What about us? I echoed her earlier fear, the selfishness stinging. We argued again, not slashing but searching. Long distance isn't doom, she insisted, pulling up Amtrak schedules as metaphor. We Skype, we visit. You're my anchor, Emma. But doubt not. My visa expiring in 6 months, whispers of job offers back stateside. Carlos mediated over breakfast tortoise, his cannula discarded. Love's not a cage, Nina's. Its wings. Fly but together. His words, seasoned by survival, steadied us. We planned. Weekends alternating cities, my writing portable, her passion fueled. Climax-crested New Year's Eve, the city a frenzy of fireworks and cava toasts. We'd gathered on the apartment roof, Carlos, Javier, a few neighbors, for the midnight countdown. Esme and I slipped away to the edge, the Sagrada's silhouette a dark sentinel. As bells tolled from Lasiu, she turned to me, breath fogging in the chill. Marry me. The words tumbled unscripted, her ring. A simple silver band from her mother's jewelry box, gleaming in her palm. Shock bloomed to joy, my yes a sob. We kissed as explosions lit the sky, colors blooming like our future. Messy, vibrant hours. But genres twist. In the afterglow as we descended to join the cheers, my phone buzzed. A Seattle area code. My editor. A book deal offer, contingent on returning stateside for revisions. The dream I'd chased across oceans, now a tether pulling opposite. Esme saw my face fall, the ring heavy on her finger. We choose, she whispered. Always. Choice carved the path forward, raw and revealing. We deferred decisions, letting the ring's weight settle like snow, soft, inevitable. January dawned with Esme's move to Madrid, a tearful train send-off at Sant Station. Carlos pressing euros into her hand, for churros not rent. Javier lugging boxes with mock grunts, me clutching her waist like a life preserver. 2 weeks, she promised, nose buried in my scarf. The avenue whisked her away, a silver bullet piercing Castile's plains, and I returned to Barcelona hollow, the apartment's echo mocking my solitude. Carlos filled the void, his rehab a ritual we shared. Morning physio walks through Gracia's labyrinthine alleys, where laundry fluttered like prayer flags. He'd lean on my arm, breath steadying, and dispense wisdom in bilingual bursts. You know, Emma, when I met her mama, Isabel, she was with a woman. Artist, wild hair from Andalusia. Broke her heart when she left for Paris. He paused at a fountain, splashing water on his face. But it taught her to choose bold. Like you. The stories humanized him, not just papa but man with fractures. In turn I shared mine. Seattle rains, coming out to skeptical parents over Thanksgiving turkey. The ache of loving across borders. Your family now. he said one day, clapping my shoulder. No invitation needed. Javier warmed too, our bond forging in unexpected fires. He confessed Sophia's visit had been a ploy, her Bilbao job shaky, seeking Esme's old flame for comfort. I should have seen it, he admitted over beers at a dive bar. Neon signs buzzing La Liga highlights. But you? You're solid. Esme's lucky. The absolution eased old pricks, turning him from sentinel to ally. We plotted surprises. Care packages to Madrid, my handwritten letters tucked in with his tech gadgets, bridging the miles. Esme thrived in the capital, her texts alive with program highs. Seminars on queer theory in post-dictatorship Spain. Protests marching rainbow flags through Puerta del Sol. But cracks showed. Late-night calls laced with exhaustion. The city's anonymity a cold bedfellow. I miss your coffee, she'd say, voice tinny over FaceTime. And your terrible dancing. We'd laugh, syncing playlists for virtual dates. But the ring glinted accusatory. Symbol or shackle? My Seattle offer loomed, revisions demanding presence by spring. Visit first, I hedged. Booking a Eurail pass for February. Madrid welcomed me with a biting wind off the Sierra. Esme waiting at Atacha under the iron palm canopy, her coat a slash of red. We tumbled into her shoebox flat near Malasana, books stacked like Jenga, a window overlooking graffiti murals, and fell into bed, reconnection a fever. Days blurred. Churros at dawn from Chocolateria Sanguinez. Afternoons in the Prado tracing Velázquez gazes. Evenings in queer bars where flamenco fused with electronica. This could be us, she murmured one night, curled on a thrift store rug, wine staining our lips. Writing in the mornings, me lecturing firebrands. The vision tantalized, but my inbox pinged reminders. Visa clocks ticking, publisher nudges. Conflict reignited on a sleeting Sunday. Post-brunch at her favorite falafel spot. My parents FaceTimed. Faces creased with worry. Mom's Seattle kitchen a cozy backdrop. Honey, the deal's gold. Come home. Esme, overhearing, stiffened beside me on the metro back. Home, she echoed later, pacing the flat. Is it here? Or there? The fight erupted gentle at first. My fear of stagnation, her dread of uprooting again, escalating to accusations. You're running back to safety. And you're clinging to ghosts. We parted raw, me crashing at a hostel. Wandering Retiro Park's frozen paths. Rowers stroking the lake like feudal oars. Dawn brought clarity or its illusion. I found her at a cafe near the program, nursing a solo café con leche, eyes shadowed. I choose us, I said, sliding into the seat. But together means compromise. We deconstructed. My writing nomadic, her studies hybrid post-pandemic. A plan emerged, me basing in Barcelona for now, remote revisions, visits weaving the web. The ring once heavy lightened. We'd wed in summer, civil and simple under Catalan sun. Yet drama demands crescendo. March brought Carlos's scare. A minor setback, arrhythmia flaring, and Esme rushed back, train tickets burned. I met her at the hospital, the same corridor where grief had forged us, now a hall of homecoming. He recovered swiftly, buoyed by our news. Botus. Finally joy without sirens. But in the quiet aftermath, Esme confessed a shadow, Sophia, circling again via emails. Just checking in. Deletion followed, boundaries redrawn, but the reminder lingered. Love's not linear, betrayal a specter. Spring unfurled, forgiving. We planned the wedding, small, on a Gracia rooftop, with gaudiest whimsy as witness. Javier as best man, Carlos walking Esme, tradition bent, his arms steady. My family flew in, jet-lagged but teary. Mom hugging Esme like a long-lost daughter. Vows exchanged in English and Catalan. In storms and stadiums, I choose you. The kiss sealed it, cheers rising like that fateful goal. Epilogue whispered in autumn's gold. Madrid conquered, Esme graduated with honors, landing advocacy work in Barcelona, full circle. I published, dedicating to the woman who scored my heart. Carlos, hale at 60, grumbled about grandkids but beamed at our Balearic getaways. Betrayal's scar faded, a faint line in our mosaic. Javier found his own spark, Sophia a memory. In the end, the unexpected wasn't Carlos's collapse, but his gift, forcing us to face the game of us. Life, like La Liga, thrums with drama. High stakes, fierce loyalties, but played with heart, it ends not in penalty kicks, but in shared victory. Under Barcelona's eternal blue, we ran the pitch together, breathless, unbroken.